Liner Notes. My name is David Bixler. In the early 1900s, James Weldon Johnson explored the complex life of a biracial man who chose to disappear into white society in the Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man. Now, saxophonist Mark Turner uses this powerful novel as the foundation for his latest project. Join us as we listen to and discuss Turner's powerful compositions, a musical meditation on race, anonymity, and heritage. Performed by his stellar quintet featuring Jason Palmer, David Virelles, Matt Brewer, and Nasheet Waits. Discover how this music forces the listener to confront the novel's enduring questions about identity and the American experience. Mark Turner, good morning. Welcome to Liner Notes, and we are here to discuss your new recording, Reflections on the Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man. That came out October 10th on Giant Steps Arts. And first of all, congratulations on the record. And also thank you for turning me on to a book which I was able to complete yesterday.
Okay, cool.
Which was fascinating. And, really interested in, kind of unpacking the why behind this music. I understand from reading the notes that this is not programmatic. But obviously it inspired you. And so I think the listener would be interested in knowing, in what capacity, this informed your compositions. In addition, obviously there's times where you are reciting the text from the book. But maybe just, talk about how you encountered this book and, which I read was, 2 decades ago now, and, the time it took to get to this point.
Well, I was just, at the time, I was just doing a little Afro-Am study on my own, and I still do, I like history, so I just either read about history, I get books, or I get, ebooks, or read articles, or listen to podcasts, all kinds of things like that. So this is maybe part of my historical study. So I'm interested in it, including, religions. When I was younger, I used to read about, Buddhist history, Jewish history, Christian history, just to understand, what's going on, all the things that form our society today. So anyway, this is my Afro-Am study. I still have a lot more to do, but that was one of the books that I read. So that's that. But at the time I wasn't, I read it, I wasn't necessarily thinking, okay, I'm going to write a suite of music based on it. So I just read that apart from that. And then later on, I was just like any musician does, I'm assuming, I don't know, but I was just trying to find other ways to write music. So, and that's just something I'm interested in anyway, just the details of how to create. So one, improvising, and the other one is writing. So, what are the building blocks of writing? So I decided, okay, I'm going to try to do it right based on something else besides only musical principles, which is what most of us, I'd say most jazz musicians write based on. So what I mean by that is, yes, of course, there's always emotional, spiritual, human, cultural value, but usually maybe we're writing, maybe you have a theme, you develop it, you set up the form, you write chord changes, so on and so forth. This time I wanted to start with something that directs those psycho-spiritual spaces. So read a novel and then write all the pieces related to each other, and also decide how many pieces I'm going to write. It helps when you have a novel You could immediately say, in this case, the novel is 11 chapters. Great. I'm going to write 11 pieces. So it helps to have something to sort of map out what you're going to do, and then you start to fill in the spaces. So that was basically it. I wanted more of a directional quality to my writing. The other thing I just want to add, I don't know if you are interested, but I just find it interesting, especially considering the masters of any art form, just the directional quality, the intimate relationship between their psychospiritual, emotional, cultural state and the medium. So the medium might be theater, might be cinema, might be cuisine, might be dance. In this case, it's music. So the nuts and bolts of music are basically, melody, rhythm, harmony, and form. And of course, instrumental technique. But those four things you're dealing with. How do you bring your human experience into those four things? That's difficult if you actually think about it. So that's very much what I'm interested in. How intimate can you get? What does this chord mean? What does this rhythm mean? What does the form mean in terms of how do I feel about those things? So I wanted a more directional approach. So I decided to pick this novel basically because I have, I want a novel, of course, that I have uh, personal or emotional feelings about, and one that I could use. Meaning, this one is short. It has clear sections, clear themes, kind of like an opera, right? You think about an opera, the themes are simple. It's not super complex. Of course, you can make them complex, but they're clear themes. And then the opera is formed. There's a libretto and all that. So that's basically the layout. Sorry, that was long, but
No, 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 that's great. Excuse me, if I could just for clarification, when you're talking about the themes being simple, are you talking about the drama or the music?
when I say themes, I mean both. So the themes of the book, the central themes of the book that the author is trying to get at. Of course, there's also, well, the themes that I find are important in the book. That's really what it is. What's my intersection with the book. So I mean the themes of the book. And yes, of course, later, you know, musical themes, harmonic, melodic form come out of that. My philosophy of life is this: make yourself as happy as possible and try to make those happy whose lives come into touch with yours. But to attempt to right the wrongs and ease the sufferings of the world in general is a waste of effort. You had just as well tried to bail the Atlantic by pouring the water into the Pacific.
Well, one of the things that I read in the, PR for it, that you, chose music, that you wanted music that was enhanced with words, and you weren't composing the music to, to do the opposite, to support the
That's
text.
right.
And so, like, what caused the, the sections that you read, what caused them to jump out and want you to, highlight them and, share them with the listener?
Well, the first thing is that might shed light on this is I wrote the music without intending to have words in it at all. So I just used this novel as a catalyst to write music, and I was just going to present the music, no words. So that's the first thing. So I think that might shed some light on this from the beginning. This is all comes from the music.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, well, so back in 2018, you know, I we presented this to Vanguard right before doing it, maybe 2 weeks or so before presenting this, and I thought, hey, it might be interesting if I just have a few words. It might enhance the performance of the music. So that's what happened. Okay, why did I'm guess you're asking, why did I choose these passages? What attracted me to them? Okay, I could only pick a few passages, you know, basically so they don't overwhelm the music. So they had to be potent. They had to be short. They have to be potent, and they have to be basically some at least, how can I say, somewhat present or encapsulate how I feel about the book and also what I think the author is trying to present. Now, what I've taken out of the book, James Weldon Johnson may not agree with it all, but all I can say is this is how I feel about it. So that's what I was trying to do. And so I had to take some, fairly, I don't know, maybe again, potent or provocative sections from the book. There are a lot of other sections of the book that have meaning, interest, or present uh, what Weldon Johnson was trying to say. But I couldn't. It was hard to figure out how to put those into words in a short amount of time, basically less than a paragraph. You know, so
Right. What was interesting to me as a listener is that I had listened to the recording several times and then, came across the sections in the book and was surprised at the context, especially the one with the Texan when, he was quote unquote passing
yeah,
and having this conversation. And some of there's a lot of I guess I found the book maybe a little melodramatic, it's from its time,
yeah,
but
19th century.
also
Yeah,
of just, like yeah, some really painful things, like when he has to sit down in school and, I
yeah,
can't imagine what that would be like to be in that train car talking to the Texan like that. So maybe let's pivot into, the character, which as I was preparing for this, I went back and said, "What's this guy's name?" Mm, no name. Googled it. No, he's anonymous.
he's
And,
anonymous. That's right.
um, so maybe, is he kinda like an everyman? I mean, like, what's your perception? What's your take on, what Weldon was trying to present with, this character who, I was surprised he didn't have a name because, like, I read the book in 2 days, and I got very engrossed in this guy's life.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um
Well, some people say it's semi-autobiographical, which is kind of true for James Weldon Johnson. Of course, he couldn't pass. So, I don't know. My take is that, um, he's using this character to present at the time they would call it the race question, just present a variety of views on the race question at that time period. So the character allows that. If you can pass, one individual can see both sides, all right? What's going on both sides. Another, not just both sides, I'd say a variety of sides, right? Because the character meets a lot of different people and they have they have a variety of opinions on what race or let's say phenotype means in America at the time, right? So I think that's basically what's happening, right? So he's using this character to present a lot of points of view on, yeah, what it means to be black at that time. So I would take it a little farther and say maybe it begs the question, what is the color line? So this could be actually any country. This could be in India. This could be in East Asia. There's a lot of places where the way you look affects your access to society, your full access to society. That's interesting. It could also be what religion you practice, right? Catholics and Protestants. It could be whether you're Eastern European or Western European. There's all kinds of stuff. You could take it further. There's all kinds of lines where you have access to society or you don't. And maybe you're on both sides and you look exactly the same, or you speak the same language, or it's all kinds of things, right? We could take it farther. But I think he's just taking this and saying, okay, someone who can pass, why is it that this person doesn't get full access to society if he says he's black? When for all intents and purposes at the time, he looks like he's of European descent. He's highly educated, speaks multiple languages. He has all the criterion to be an upper middle class person in that society. That's kind of interesting. So I think he's presenting that and saying, what does this mean?
Mhm. Okay. With, you said that this was premiered at the Vanguard 2018. Did you s and you found the words, did you speak, like, during the shows,
Yeah, I
during the
did.
performances there?
Mhm. I used
Okay.
some different passages, but most of those passages I used. So, as the nights progressed, I read other passages too, but I think from the probably we're gonna be performing it next we're going on tour to do about 6 dates in Europe next month, so I'll probably just do exactly what's on the record. Just read it out just straight so they you know, you, uh whoever's listening to it just gets to hear exactly what the document is.
Okay. And just curious, were people surprised, at the Vanguard when they came to hear your band and you were, reading
I think
literature?
I think there were, yes. I think it was
Yeah.
I think it definitely put a vibe on the situation.
Yeah. I bet, man.
The art of letters, poetry, music, sculpture, painting, drama, architecture, the science of mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, logic, physics, chemistry, the use of the metals and the principles of mechanics were all invented or discovered by darker and what we now call inferior races and nations. We have carried many of these to their highest point of perfection, but the foundation was laid by others. Why, we didn't even originate the religion we use. We are a great race, the greatest in the world today.
And, like, and for the band, is this the same band that recorded that was at
Mhm.
the Vanguard?
Yeah, same band.
Okay. And were they, I mean, did you encourage them to, read the book? Did you go like Phil Jackson with the, Michael Jordan Bulls? He always had books for
Oh,
them, like,
really? Oh,
to
okay.
read.
No,
Like, yeah.
I got it. Yeah. No, they knew the book that I left that up to them. I didn't encourage anyone to do that.
Okay. And then, just maybe talk about the, just from the compositional, aspect. As you were writing this, you created space for you to narrate in.
Mhm.
Is it open, improvised? Is it, a giant repeat sign until on cue?
No, it's open and improvised, yeah. So those sections were all basically especially when we perform it live, they're basically there's a section for everyone to solo, uh, to have a free solo. And then in those spaces, in between or during, that's when the text happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then maybe talk about your relationship with the players that you've assembled for this recording. Jason Palmer on trumpet, David Virelles on piano, Matt Brewer bass, and Nasheet Waits on drums. Is this working quintet? Was this put together for this project?
It was put together for this project, and I know them all from playing, just we've all been sidemen together in different configurations. We've all played together in, a variety of situations over the years. In some situations, I've led bands with, any one or two of them at a time. So that's basically it. We all know each other. We've all played together a lot in the scene, in the New York scene.
Okay. In regards to this recording, the last thing I want to ask you, maybe slightly delicate, is that with the issue of passing, you talk about your mother and your great aunts and about this being a familial conversation
Mhm.
in your youth.
Yeah.
So maybe unpack a little, if you're comfortable, about how
Yeah.
this book resonated with you and your family.
Yeah, yeah. So my great aunts so I'm not sure if it's my great aunts or great great aunts. I'm not sure how that I think maybe it's great great aunts. I might have been wrong, but those were the sisters of my great grandfather. So I think they're a sister of my great grandfather, or maybe a great great. Anyway, so this is late 19th century, early 20th century. They they did what the protagonist does. They married, uh, 2 individuals, 2 men of a European descent, and they left the family. So that if if you wanted to cross over, you had to cross over completely, right? You couldn't be outed
All
unless
in,
yeah,
yeah.
usually. Sometimes people did know. So in the book, right, uh, the James Weldon Johnson mentions people who are, let's say, colored families and white families who knew each other and knew they were related and accepted it. So there was that also. So it's actually one thing I just want to say quickly is that all this stuff about all this history with the color line and slavery and stuff is very complex and very nuanced, maybe more than I think many people now realize. There's a lot of you know basically people when human beings get together, they make children. I have to say it, you know, voluntary or involuntary. A
It
lot of this was
happens.
voluntary too, actually. There's a lot going on. This has been going on since the 17th century, right? It's a long time that Europeans and Africans have been in the same continent. So, we're the ones that we're the ones that basically together we built the country, right? And then also there are other people that came in later in different parts of the world, but anyway, so basically I'm just saying that yes, my mother could pass. So my great aunts left. This is in Indiana. Uh, and they actually so my great grandfather could visit them, so my mom says, but my great grandmother could not. She was too dark. He was light enough so he could sort of pass a little bit. He could also pass some, but he decided,
Wow.
he stayed with the African American culture. She couldn't go, she's too dark. In other words, they'd be outed. They say, "Hey, what's this black woman doing?" I'm kinda joking, but it's true. So, but my mother decided, I think, like most, she was raised in a obviously black family, and her parents were academics, and they taught at, Wilberforce University. That was where I think it was the first HBCU. So she was in a, black academic family, and I don't think she would have even thought of passing and leaving. So anyway, so yeah, there's all kinds of details, but she used to tell us about what white people were saying. You know, she she might be on the bus or in any place, and people talk, right? So,
Yeah.
and there are situations where she could pass to get jobs. She thought about it, but she didn't do that. I think she just told me recently, when she was young, the airline industry was getting going, and she thought, "Oh, maybe I'll be a flight attendant." Only white people could be flight attendants back then. So she thought, "Hey, maybe I'll try for
Okay.
the gig." She could pass. She could have done it. But then she thought, "Oh, maybe not," because then, I think also they asked us they wanna meet your family and do all kinds of other things, so she wouldn't have been able to do it. She
To
would
be
have
a
been
flight
outed.
attendant, that's part of the interview. They
Yeah.
wanna meet your
Yes,
family.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, you have to be vetted. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it's deep. So,
Hey, man,
anyway, blah, blah, blah. There's more about it. You can keep going, but yeah, it's very interesting, the things that she dealt
wow.
with. She also I don't know how far you want me to go, but, when she met my
Keep on
father.
going, man.
So my father is from the South, my biological father from Louisiana. So this is northern Louisiana. I don't know if you ever heard of Ruston. Why would you? It's a it's a small rural town, kind of between Monroe and Shreveport. Maybe you've heard of Shreveport. That's kind of the
Yeah,
big
of course.
city next to Texas. So so yeah, so she went down there. It's kind of funny. She first went down to meet my grandmother. My grandmother jumped. She said, "Why you bring this white woman to my house?" And then my father said, "Wait a minute, she's black at school." It's hilarious. If you saw pictures of her
Oh,
in the
man.
'60s, she had blonde hair and, you know, green eyes, and, you wouldn't know unless you asked and saw her
Right.
parents. Anyway, so my grandmother, when she was in the car with them, this is 1960, 61. during civil rights, but also before any of these things were passed, like civil rights laws and all that, she couldn't just sit up in the car when they went into town. She had to be in the back seat and lean down so no one could see her. I mean, that was serious. Being in the same car as a black man together, you could get, you know, I don't think you would have gotten, well, I don't know. Maybe I doubt you get lynched in 1960, but that was serious. There's still
Mm,
there were still miscegenation laws then that were still in the books. It was against the law.
right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, there's all that, and sometimes my grandmother would ask my mother to go into some places she couldn't go to get some food that she liked. She'd say, "Can you just go in there and get me something and come back?" It's a little bit of a funny one. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff like that, little details, but
Right.
it's interesting. So
That reminds me of the Bird movie where they send Red Rodney in to, like,
yeah,
get
that's
whatever
right.
they
Yeah, yeah.
needed when they're on the
Yeah,
road, yeah.
you get the idea. So there's all kinds of little details about some kind of humorous, some, not so much, but
Did you ever see the, Eddie Murphy skit when he dresses up as a white man and gets on the bus?
yeah, a long time ago. I've seen a few different ones of those, yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty good, man. But anyhow, I digress. Um, you know, this also I also wanted to bring up, and, this wasn't really, part of, our meeting today, but "We Raise Them to Lift Their Heads"
Yes, mhm,
also came out earlier this
that's
year.
right, yeah.
Phenomenal record,
Awesome, thanks.
solo saxophone. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Do you give concerts like that? I mean, that's kind of, a heroic slash monumental task to
It's pretty
sustain,
hard,
you
yeah.
know?
I've only done it once. Maybe I'll do it in the future, actually, but I did it once before this record came out. Maybe, I don't know, it had to be 7 or 8 years ago. But so the answer is I have done it, but it's not something I do regularly, but I might try to do that.
Alright.
Yep.
And then, before I let you go, you mentioned that you're going to Europe with this band
Yeah.
for several
Mhm.
performances, and then, are you gonna be in the States? You're gonna be in New York anytime presenting this music?
Yeah, I think that won't happen until, unfortunately, or I don't know, until, 2027 in February. So at the Vanguard, and then we'll do some US dates afterwards. So, yeah, the Vanguard is, they're booking that far out in advance. So that's the earliest date was available. Yeah.
Yeah? Well, you're gonna be there, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, like, musically, like, project-wise, what's next? What are you working on, compositionally or, conceptually?
Oh, yeah, as a leader, sideman, all the above. I
Everything,
mean, there's all kinds of
baseball,
stuff. Yeah,
oh,
I mean, I'm doing let's see, I'm still playing with, BHQ, Billy Hart Quartet, so they're gonna be playing at Smoke, in end of November. I am doing, let's see, what am I gonna do? I'm going out right afterwards with Ethan to play some duo in Europe, and then when I come back, I'm recording another, so this is a leader project, so with, Lage Lund, Vicente Archer, and Jonathan Blake. So it's just gonna be LP, which is cool. So it'll just be 38 minutes, about, 5 tunes, good old school. I'm kind of into that. So that'll be my tunes, and most of them, that project was kind of trying to learn how to write one-page tunes. So so there is just straightforward jazz.
make your sidemen happy,
Yeah,
yes.
so, okay, there's one that's 2 pages, but there's
Okay.
basically, so, yeah, just that, so that's gonna happen, and then I'm doing another Giant Step Arts, so the first one is with a label that, Jerome Sabah, has. I forgot the name of it, but it's kind of an audiophile, label, um, and then he just puts out LPs, so, high definition LPs. And the other one is the Giant Step Arts thing again, so that's with, Jason Palmer's band. I'm not sure what configuration is gonna be. Um, so yeah, and then there's gonna be a ECM record with the Cordless Quartet coming out in the spring of 2026. What else? Yeah, and I'm just writing music now, just started writing music for another, suite. Um, and actually another suite too. There are two suites. One is chordless without me talking, and the other one is going to be with chords with me talking a little bit.
Oh.
So another
What's
version.
the, where are the words coming from?
The words will be coming from Octavia Butler. So one of my favorite authors. I'm a sci-fi fan. So basically, all of her novels. She wrote 11 novels. So I might add a 12th because the 12th would be it's not a novel, but it's a collection of short stories. So I might add that. 12 is a nice number for music. So we'll see. I have to figure it out. But so those are the things that are coming that oh yeah, the other one is basically uh I don't know if you heard of this band that I have with Lage Lund called The Fury. So we did 2 records on Giant Step.
I'm not familiar. I'll have to check it
So we
out.
did
Yeah.
2 records on Giant Step Arts. So it's basically my tunes and his tunes. So we're gonna be playing in Japan at I guess the uh I keep forgetting. They're basically the Blue Note Consortium. There's the Blue Note and there's a place called the Cotton Club. Maybe they're playing at the Cotton Club. Anyway, so yeah, the first band it's got uh Matt Brewer and Taishan Sori. And both of them are with that. But the other one the record that I'm doing in December with Vicente Archer and Jonathan Blake, I consider it sort of part of that. This time it's just all my music, but it's basically me and Lage with rhythm sections that we like performing our music. It's basically that. So I consider it part of that. Okay, I'm the leader this time, but you know, because when we play in Japan, it'll be with Vicente Archer and Jonathan Blake, and we'll be playing my music and his music. So that's another project. You know, oh yeah, I forgot. There's another one. This cutes me. There's a trio with uh, it's basically uh called the Phoenix. But it's basically it's Joe Martin and um I'm thinking all these names I'm totally spacing, and Marcus Gilmore, and it's all 3 of our tunes, his tunes, my tunes, and Joe's tunes. So maybe we'll do another one. So that's also Giant Step Arts. So those are the things that are going on currently. There's some other ones I haven't mentioned, I maybe not remembering, but so yeah, and then Kurt's uh I guess, it's the band he had. He's got all these different bands that I've been in, but it's a band that was playing around 2007, uh, basic 2005 to 2008, something like that. I think he's calling it the Remedy Band now. At that time, I don't know what it was called, but so that band, there's a record called The Remedy that came out live with the Vanguard. So that band is going to be playing in the summer. So that'll be cool. Looking forward to that. So anyway, there's other things, but I'll stop there.
You got a full docket. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what's
That's
happening.
great, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Mark, thank you for your time. The record is Reflections on the Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man
Yes.
on Giant Steps Arts. Good to see you. Good to meet you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Dave.
All the best. Okay, peace. Liner Notes is grateful for the support of Van Doren Reeds and Mouthpieces. Be sure and check out the Van Doren Advisory Studio in New York City for all your sound sculpting needs. Liner Notes is grateful for the support of Arlen's Good Beer in Bowling Green, Ohio. Engineered by Marco Mendoza. Visit his website at engineeredbymarco.com. The theme music is Hide, Seek, Find from a record Beatitude out on Tiger Turn. Produced by David Bixler. Be sure and subscribe to Liner Notes wherever you find your podcasts. If you like what you hear, I ask that you consider supporting Liner Notes financially. You can do this by going to the Liner Notes tab at davidbixler.com. Thank you for your consideration.